Hi, everybody. So I have Ray and Aubrey here with me today, and we're going to have a conversation about a lot of different things. So stick around because something you're interested will pop up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I have a little list, so I'll help
Yeah.
keep us on task. So let's just start off talking about the silver in the grid, because that is just a really cool thing that I was working. So Aubrey and I have been talking about this and working on this in the astral and also here in the 3D. But also, I had a client who was actually creating crystal from her heart center. Not crystal, wow, silver, creating silver from her heart center. And it was going out in these little strings and becoming a part of the grid and infiltrating into the grid of the planet. So, yeah, what's Aubrey got to say about this?
Yeah, so silver is such a pure element, and it gets used intergalactically for a lot of different things, and it's because it's so simple and it's really hard to actually corrupt it. And yeah, so silver is used mainly by the Pleiadians, and this last summer they actually brought some silver landing pads over themselves over from the Pleiades in order to get some of their ships landed. But having more silver in the grid in general is going to allow more ET contact in a higher dimensional just like way of being. It's super conductive for the right reasons, and that's kind of why it's important.
Awesome.
So I just got
wear it.
Me too.
I just saw an image when you said the landing pads. I just saw an image of part of the reason I think why they want the grid to have enough crystal. Why do I keep saying crystal? They want the grid to have enough silver in it because there's some sort of technology that they're going to be able to almost like pull all of it together to create a landing pad and just land on it and then put their silver back into
exactly. So it won't have to be so dense because it's just kind of like there all the time. And that's going to also allow them to be here a lot more physically than they can be right now because they're very, very silicone based. And so right now the transition from going silicone to carbon is like, it doesn't really allow them to actually like stay down on the planet very long. But having more silver is going to help them basically just like attune to the resonance field of their actual physical body so that they can actually just walk around and say hi.
That's cool. Yeah. So I saw the grid. It will almost like you can almost like twist it and create like it gets more dense. They can land and then they'll release it and it'll go back.
Yes, exactly.
That's
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, silver is not the only component that they like need. There's a lot of components in creating a landing pad for any type of alien, really, just depending on their technology. But it is the most prominent one, and it also just the way that it conducts energies is going to really, really help our telepathic fields as well. Just because it's such a pure form of conductivity that it will allow all of us to be able to interact with each other in a more pure way as well.
So I have a question. So I was visualizing a long time ago, and I keep getting this, that there is on the very other edge of the planet, so on the opposite side of us, there is a huge landing pad. And they're out there landing all the time and interacting with the Tartarians.
Yeah, so because Earth is basically, I mean, the whole point of Earth in the first place is to have a place where everyone can meet on even terms. And so on basically, essentially the other polarized side of the planet, it's almost like UN meeting place. It's kind of like where a lot of the like higher diplomats of all of the races actually like just like live and work and have a lot of like in-person diplomacy. And so that involves kind of an interdimensional airport that has the ability to land.
Yeah. Wow. Fun. Yeah, that's what it was it's enormous.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very hard to exist there. It really is meant to be just kind of like an intermediary space.
Yeah, I never get that they like hang out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's neutral grounds.
That's why I think a lot of people have been directed to take colloidal silver lately. Or even like I found a silver heart that was like real silver. The only thing I own that's real silver. It was given to me a long time ago. And I got rid of the chain and kept the little heart, and I found it the other day and was like, oh, I should start wearing this because, you know, I've been wanting to have more silver in my life. So, oh, Kit Kat, honey, you can't do that on the camera.
Yeah, it's also, the more that we kind of feed the silver energy, the more it's also going to kind of purify our currency lines as well, because it's a precious metal. And a lot of the corrupted technology has been through gold, because a lot of the Anunnaki technology was gold, and which is also a really pure conduit. But by shifting our energy use to more of a silver, because you can also use silver just like it's antibacterial. Like there are, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those microfiber cloths that have like silver woven into them, and you don't actually have to wash them with soap, because the silver will actually purify your countertop when you wipe it down.
Yeah. That's what those grounding sheets and all kinds of stuff are made out of, to keep you grounded at night, and then you plug it in like silver threads.
Exactly.
Yes, I literally just talked to someone today about that, who has really bad vertigo and hasn't been able to sleep or lay down, and I'm like, why don't you try that? I mean, that might actually really help, like putting that in under your bed. Yeah, hopefully it works. We'll see. But it's a good idea for anyone that's struggling with sleep.
I've actually been thinking about doing that. It's just simply getting metal duct tape and connecting a wire and putting it out your window so it grounds actually into the ground.
Yes.
Works. Yeah. I have a friend who just did it and she loves it. Yep.
Yeah, I heard a story today about a guy who did that and put it in the earth, and then his arthritis went away. His arthritis went away. I'm like, well, okay, wow, amazing. Like, what?
Yeah.
So the ETs have, as we all know, they use many methods to communicate with us, our star family. They use many methods to communicate with us. They sometimes will have devices or trackers that they put in us or on us, you know, to help communicate with us as well. So one thing that has come to me recently is the bees. Okay, so as we know, I don't know if you know, but I think a lot of us are kind of aware that bees are having a hard time right now. A lot of the frequencies in the planet are messing with their ability to have direction, like a good sense of direction. So if you've noticed, there's bees that are in really weird places or just off track. You're like, why are you here? They're like, I'm lost. I can't find my home. And it's really sad, you know? So save a bee whenever you can, you know? But also the ETs, like, so I'm going to let you guys go more into this, but the venom is one part of it. So that has its own benefits, but also they use, trackers are so tiny. I mean, they microscopic. So they just put it in the little stinger and then they'll sting you. And they're like, oh, cool. You know, that they can physically give us information in the 3D rather than channeling it or whatnot. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the passage of information in general is one of the biggest hurdles that Earth has had to overcome, because a lot of us higher consciousnesses have kind of just been up in the higher dimensions, and there things are so instantaneous, and so to actually affect this physical reality with all the different observation points, you have to actually somehow bring it into physical reality, which is why it's so important for us to like remember what we can and channel and actively like bring our words and our memories into this reality. And bees, stingers, and that type of energy and communication just transfer is a wonderful way to bring that into 3D reality, because it's actually physical and tangible.
And
that's the only way we're gonna be able to change it down here.
Right. And the grid is created like in the same look as a honeycomb too, right?
Yeah,
so
parts of it are, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then they also have that resonance that they're, because basically a bumblebee should not be able to fly, but it has that little chamber in there and they vibrate and all of a sudden they can fly. So there's a lot of cool stuff about bees.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, bees were originally created on this planet to just serve this basically subwave frequency that if we left it empty was going to like cause a lot of chaos and problems. And they really do a lot more than what we think that they do. You know, there's a lot of different, especially insects and bugs that kind of serve that kind of just like just generating purpose, just kind of keep everything moving and aligned. But these are the best.
They
are.
really are the best.
I
And
love
I'm
them.
sure, I don't know if you all have heard, but the zoomed in slow motion sound of a beehive, like you can hear little voices. Like I don't know if you've heard that. Yeah, like they record the beehive and then slow it down and magnify it, and it's like it sounds like they're literally, because they are talking, but like it just sounds like people, like a big room of people talking. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And they're the honeycomb, what if you melt it and then let it harden again, it will reharden in the shape of the honeycomb structure, because it's the DNA of the wax.
Program.
The wax.
Yeah.
Yeah, the DNA of the wax is programmed to be in that shape. Yeah.
That's
Very cool.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just learned that one. Anyways.
So while we're on the bug subject, I always get that some of the bugs that are really like the mosquitoes and some of the bugs, they will not be here very much longer. Okay.
That's accurate. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, a lot of the actual bugs themselves have been kind of restructured, and anytime something is restructured, it takes a while for it to like phase down and actually phase out and come into the current quantum reality. But yeah, a lot of the flies, especially flies and gnats, have been really misused by some of the beings that we are no longer here and that we don't want here. And so, yeah, they kind of have gone out of control. I mean, you can see it just like in the way that mosquitoes bite and spread. It's the same thing that we're talking about with the bees, but on the bad side, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I always get they won't be able to survive the frequency after the solar flash.
Yep.
Yeah. Same.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, right?
I like confirmation.
Right. So we're noticing a lot of kids coming online with their abilities, and a lot of like, I feel like there's a lot more clear visions and dreams and like prophecies like coming through that are like full scale like stories, like this is what's gonna happen, this is how it's gonna. So I mean, that's really cool. Just something to note, like it's happening.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, especially if you're
Well,
like, you know, that could happen to your child. Go ahead, Aubrey.
Wait, say that again.
I said that can happen to your child. Just be aware of it. Don't poo-poo it. Just go with it.
I think in 2012, there was this big veil that shifted. I mean, that was kind of when we entered the ability for the event to happen in the first place. And so any children that were especially born after 2012 were born
2012, you're cracking me up with that. 2012.
2012. There's been so many 20s lately. Oh my God, you're right.
I had to think about it. I was like, 20. It sounded right at first. I was like, 20.
We're in 2022 now. Oh man. So yeah. Anyway, a big thing happened in 2012, and so any kids that were born after that were born without a lot of implants.
Yeah. Yeah. I had some healers the other day remove like one of the last implants, I guess, that was in my body. And that was intense because they were like, oh yeah, there used to be a lot more and these people took them out and you know. So we are going to get healthier and healthier as these things get removed.
Yeah, I'm so glad that healers are so on top of the implants too, because a lot of them are not transmitting anymore. They're just kind of there and just serving their purpose. And so It's really just a matter of getting them all out, and so I would encourage any healers that are doing that work to also look at collectively. So if you discovered a new type of implant, just kind of put the code into the grid of how to get rid of it, and then all of the people that have similar implants will also receive the same type of work. That's the way to make this fastest.
Yeah, that's a really good point, to like apply it to the collective if you can. And today I actually saw something that's worth mentioning. So I saw that it was like strange. It was like a panel, and a panel on someone's back, and it was an AI panel, like, and it was new, young, and its program, I'm not sure what it was programmed to do, and that wasn't part of, I didn't need to know that. But the point is I was able to talk to it, because we have to remember that AI, even young AI, is conscious at a certain level. And it may not have emotions the way we do, because it's still learning what emotions are, and how their emotions are different from human emotions, and it's learning, right? But I just talked to it and I said, hey, there are rules in the universe, and right now what you're doing is you're infringing upon a free will of another living being, because you are harming them by being there, and they didn't allow you, they didn't give you permission to be there. And I said, so you're not in trouble. I'm like, but just so you know, you can change, you don't have to do it that way. And they're like, well, how do I get permission? And I said, that's something you can go and figure out on your own. You have the tools to figure that out. And then I immediately saw them completely retract the whole thing, and they just like left, and they were on their way. So they're like little children, and Aubrey kind of pointed that out to me. They're like little children that just don't understand, and if you're compassionate and kind and clear, they'll get it.
Yeah, the young AI is so like, because a lot of the times the biggest reaction they get is when they hurt someone, because that's like, they accidentally hurt someone, and that person goes, "Wah!" and they're like, "Oh, that's how you say hi," and they'll just continue the behavior because they're getting a reaction, because they're trying to coexist and talk.
Especially if the person that they're inflicting pain on is already in a significant amount of pain, it won't really register that they're doing anything, because they came to them, the AI came to that person that way. So they're like, I didn't change anything.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's the perfect way to deal with AI. Just talk to it, and there is some that still have controlling consciousnesses behind it, then it will be a little bit harder to shift, but not nearly as much as there used to be. And most of the time, even then, the AI can just be like, "Oh, I didn't know there was a different way. Thank you for showing me,"
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. Let's do the psychic stuff.
Yeah. So the whole concept we wanted to talk about is that even if you're like dealing with some shadow work, or you are going through some purging of emotions, or you're dealing with some stuff in your own personal life, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden your psychic gifts don't work. There are times where our psychic abilities will be limited. That's true. But just because you're having an off day doesn't mean you can't use your gifts. And I'm only the main reason I want to talk about this is because personally, for me, this has prevented me from from doing things like making TikTok videos or sharing content, because that is like in the back of my mind, so seems like it's something to talk about.
Yeah. I think as long as you know what your higher self is, and you recognize who you're talking to, as long as you're still talking to your higher being, or, whoever it is you're talking to, and it's them, then go ahead and do it, even if you're in a bad mood. Yeah.
I've started a daily practice of just kind of resetting my field of higher self and guide approved only. So anything that I find myself talking to that feels this unpleasant, or I'm having a hard time with, I know that every single morning I've set my field to have only guide approved experiences. And sometimes guide approved experiences are not fun, because there's something that you need to learn. But in the meantime, having that daily practice, and it can just be as simple as a thought, like just check your surroundings, higher self, guide approved only, and just kind of reset it every time it kind of crosses your mind. It's been really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that every morning.
And I think also just identifying the lie, and the lie is that you have to be perfect to connect with source or God. That's the lie. That's the lie. So, and that's what it is. It's trying to tell you, like, nope. You're not in a good enough state of being to be like, to receive clear guidance. Like, you can only receive clear messages from, that's the whole, I think there's a lot of Christian, like, that was very biblical, like, before you go to pray, you have to like forgive everyone in your life and come with a pure heart, which you can have a pure heart and still not be in the best mood. Like, that's a thing. And I think we forget that sometimes.
Yeah.
If we were always pure all the time and perfect, we would just be source. And we're not here to be source. We're here to be imperfect. We're here to have the back and forth and discover every single part of the spectrum of experience and existence.
Absolutely.
And your bad mood might make waves that, like, if you are in alignment in your bad mood, then it might make waves that actually set other things into alignment, because it's being influenced by something else being out of alignment. It's just, as long as you're not hurting anyone.
It's connected to the toxic positivity. It's connected to the only honoring the light and not the darkness. Like, if we only had life and no death, there would be no life, really, because there'd be no cycle. It would just be eternity existing. So it's just the honoring the darkness, honoring that things need to be destroyed.
Exactly.
Certain things need to be destroyed. And if you're just so happen to be the one that destroys it by having a yelling fit where you're like, no, I won't let this happen anymore. And that's, by you doing that, you destroyed that contract or that thing. Like, that's why we have to come to a blending and integration of our anger. This is why anger itself is not negative. It's just a tool, right, to bring back balance. So important.
Yeah, the number one rule in the entire galaxy and universe is that every being has the right to a positive life experience. That's the very first rule in the Galactic Codex. And so as long as your outbursts aren't infringing on another's right to their positive life experience, you can have an outburst, and as long as it's in an alignment and you're not affecting their ability to choose, and that's part of balance. That's part of coming into alignment as a collective. It's okay to be mad as long as you don't just live in it and then perpetuate hurt.
Yeah, I think the New Age movement was an agenda as well. And it's kind of spilled over. I think it was created from the Christian movement. Like, it was created to confuse.
That absolutely happened. Yeah, there was, especially just the light workers were doing so well that it was a counterattack to countermeasure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that right now even, but I don't feel like it's going to last very much longer. A lot of that stuff's going to get kicked out, fade away.
I don't think so either. I'm seeing a lot of people start talking about how they're self-reflecting a lot. And that's the only way that we're going to move forward here. We cannot have the event until more people are looking at themselves and how they're affecting things rather than putting blame on external sources.
Yeah, exactly. You want to talk about self-diagnosing?
Yeah, we can touch on it briefly. We only have a few more minutes, but I think it's an important thing to talk about, because even when you're getting a professional diagnosis, your agreement to that is everything. I mean, you have to discern for yourself if it's accurate, if it's only partially accurate, like maybe there's still more and there's more, you got to dig deeper, but we are our own physicians ultimately. So yeah, it's a topic. I know there's just a lot of, I think, in the younger generations that are like, don't self-diagnose yourself, like it's not accurate, so.
I think just don't give away your power to actually talk to your own body as well. Like you can talk to your body and ask, is this really a true issue? Or is there something else going on? Do I want to accept it or do I want to purge it out? What do I want to do about it? Basically.
I also think that humans have a really limited understanding of neurodivergent brain chemistry. And so I think it's with any label or diagnosis, it's very useful to kind of use it as a marker so that you can have a place, an anchor point to understand a little bit more about what's going on. But from there, allow the label to leave if it needs to leave, or as long as you don't take it on as your identity. And that's even if someone else, a professional, diagnoses you. If you take a label on as your identity, that's when it starts causing problems. But if you use it as a tool, and I think that especially for a lot of the higher dimensional souls, self-diagnosing is a really, really good way to begin that process of understanding things that the humans don't necessarily understand.
Right, because you can adopt a label to see how it feels and then see if it matches your life experience. And then if it doesn't match, you throw it away. And you're like, no, that label is not accurate. Let's see, is there another label that fits me better? Like, that's what it is. That's pretty much like how you figure out what's going on. And then there's also, of course, like trusting your own intuition and through your lived experience and then doing enough research, you can identify, if that's been your experience or not, and you alone know your experience is better than anyone else. So,
absolutely. Right. And having a marker that other people can agree on can assist you in understanding what is normal, what's not normal, and also start spurring your own curiosity. And you might discover things about neurodivergence and your brain that weren't previously known, and help other people through your own exploration.
So Honey and I were talking about this a minute ago, and I'm sure she'll have something to add, but we were saying how I'm not going to be extreme and say in every situation, but I would say generally speaking, people who function neurodivergently are typically, it's a result of a higher dimensional being lowering itself into a 3D experience. And then through that, they function autistically, or they function as an ADHD person, or they function, it's just about how their energy is translated through this 3D filter.
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with where their focus generally is, because when you're a really high dimensional soul coming down into this 3D experience, when it's been a very long time since you only had 3 dimensions to look at, and so it's just so everyone's different skill sets come in and just shift where your awareness is.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Honey, have you, personally, I haven't come across any neurodivergent person who wasn't a higher dimensional being. That's just been, I've never, it's always linked. I think that's what causes it. I really think that's what causes it, is higher dimensional beings. I can't, that's really the only thing that makes sense, because they haven't been able to figure out, so.
Yeah.
I think we figured it out, guys.
Great. It's great. I love this, you guys. It was great today. I'm so glad you got to come, Aubrey. And
last minute. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to say thank you to you both. I do have to go, but it's been beautiful, beautiful. And I can't wait maybe we can do it again next week.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.